Hi, welcome to the Ambient iPad. Let's make some music. I'm back here at the Mellotron today. We're going to do a bit of an ambient jazz jam, inspired by some of the mid-60s jazz albums that were very open and atmospheric, particularly on the Blue Note label. We're going to use two sounds from the Mellotron today, a vibe sound and a flute. So think of, Bobby Hutcherson on vibes and maybe a James Spaulding or Herbie Mann on flute. We're only using the iPad for effects today, but the Mellotron has the master output is in mono. So we're going into a Focusrite Scarlett 18i8 interface, which goes back and forth to the iPad and the Mellotron. We're using this hub for the USB and for the power. Effects will pull up on the iPad. I'm doing a screen recording on the iPad so I can show you the effects. But other than that, it's primarily the Mellotron today. So let's give this a try. We have a blank instance of apeMatrix open. Because the Mellotron does not have a USB output and we're going out of its master mono output into the Focusrite Scarlett. Up here on the left you can see that the USB inputs from the Scarlett are showing up. So we have the input, which is one channel because it's mono, and the output is in two channels. That doesn't mean that the output is going to be a stereo sound. Instead, it's just two mono sounds. I do have a couple of apps that can change a mono sound into a faux stereo one. And I can't get that to work correctly in apeMatrix, but I can do that in the post-production. It does open up the space a little. As long as you use it conservatively, it doesn't really sound over the top, and it does add a little space and air around, so I will do that. We're using two sounds on the Mellotron today, a vibes and a flute sound. I'll add the effects in. We're really using the iPad for effects today, and then we'll run through the sounds, and then we'll do the jam. So I'm going to use two different reverbs. I want one reverb for the introduction or the opening part of the jam, which is just going to be vibes. So I want that to be a really big, open, spacious reverb. So we'll choose Blackhole because that's what Blackhole is good for. And I do have a preset that I use when I do want this to be really big and open. And then for the main part of the piece, I want to, for lack of a better term, a smaller space, so a smaller reverb. And I'll use ADverb2 for that. Let's use Mr. Smooth, which is a good all-around reverb from ADverb2. And I know I want to bring the mix down. That's it for the effects. Again, we're just really going to use reverb. So now that we have the effects on here, let's run through the sounds. In my last video, I said you couldn't get direct sound through apeMatrix with an audio in, but you can. You essentially choose the input to go through the output. You get this warning, which you get for synths too, and different kinds of apps when you try to connect them to themselves. But because this is really an input and a separate output, we're not going to get feedback. I'm not going to use this though because I'm just going to go through the effects. So let's enable the effects. Let's actually start with the vibes. We'll turn those off for now. So we're using the Mellotron M4000 vibes with a little bit of vibrato that's part of the original tapes. You can hear that vibrato there. So you can hear that's really, really large. All right. And then we've got, let's enable adverb for this. ADverb2. We're using the Mellotron Mark II flutes. Everybody knows this flute sound, even if you think you don't know it. Still pretty big. All right, so you know that sound, right? So we're going to use the vibes and we're going to use the flute. I mean, that's essentially it. Well, let's play them both together. Still sounds really big, so let's go down to 2. Okay, that's better. And then if we go, let's add the other one in, because you know what? I think I'm going to have them both play for the intro. That's a little louder, so I think I want the output. Let's lower the output. And if we turn off okay, it's pretty close to the same sound. I'll add a little bit of compression in post, and that should even everything out. And that's essentially it for the setup. It's really straightforward. Again, I'm going for more of an atmospheric kind of jazz vibe here. So let's I'll go in and just double check a few settings, and I also want to make sure it's still recording the screen because I have been having some issues with that. And then we'll come back and we'll do a jam. I hope you enjoyed that ambient jazz jam. I really took my inspiration from some of the mid-60s Blue Note albums. Think of Bobby Hutcherson on vibes and a James Spaulding or Herbie Mann on flute. Not that I'm comparing myself to the skill level of any of those musicians, but that's kind of the source of the inspiration for me. Particularly two albums on the Blue Note label in the 60s, Grachan Moncur's Some Other Stuff and Jackie McLean's Destination Out. Both of those albums feature a lot of compositions by Grachan Moncur, and they really have this open ambient feel to them, so I'll link to those below. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and good luck with your own music.